Hello, welcome to the Nintendo Bros podcast. This is Pete.
And this is Derek.
And we're back with some exciting times, aren't we, Derek?
I know, it's like feels like the first time in a long time we've had Nintendo news to discuss.
I mean, when's the last time we really talked about Nintendo stuff?
Months.
I mean, in terms of news, I think the last notable news was us talking about Mario RPG Remastered when it came out in November.
Yeah, and just talking about our experiences with Nintendo games. Or I think, we've done, like you said, some speculations and stuff, but even that's a while ago.
This is the first direct of the entire year, I believe.
They had the
partner showcase.
Yeah, the partner showcase, yeah.
But in terms of an actual, legit Nintendo Direct, I think this is it, because which is kind of crazy. Well, Derek, let's get into it. Before we get started, I just want to note that we're not going to talk about every single little game like we have in the past. We're really just going to talk about the big key games. I mean, I made a list of all the big first-party announcements, and then I also made a few games that I thought were notable and interesting. To mention. So
if we miss one, I'll mention the one I want to talk about.
Okay, cool. So before we even talk about the Direct itself, Derek, let's talk about our history of Nintendo Directs dating back to I'm just kidding. Back in 2012.
Yeah, 2012. Yeah.
Or I think it was 2013 actually. But anyways, what was your feelings going into this Direct, Derek? Like, what were your levels at yesterday and the week ago and all that?
Yeah, I went in with I would say above average tempered expectations, if that makes sense. Like more tempered than normal, in the sense that I really didn't think they could have any big heavy hitters. I think Switch 2 is around the corner, and I think they're going to kind of save some of that lineup for then. I knew it was focused on 2024 games, so I didn't really expect them to have too many Switch 2024 games, especially first party games. I wasn't expecting, like we've discussed before, maybe some ports, maybe some remasters, maybe one kind of family-friendly game, but nothing too major.
Yeah, I'm basically the same. I think my excitement was a little higher because they really have nothing announced for Switch. So even when they said it's going to focus on Switch games coming out this year, it was exciting to be like, well, cool, like what's coming out this year? We have no idea. It could be anything.
I know. I almost felt like maybe this is just almost like PTSD, but because of that whole like the Wii/Wii U had those years of just kind of drought of games, just like not really filling out the year, especially at the tail end of the Wii, I would say. In my head, I'm like, well, maybe they just have nothing. Like maybe there really was just a port and then a bunch of third-party kind of farming sim games, and there really wasn't anything else as they prepare for the Switch 2. So I think I was not even expecting I didn't have that sense that you had where it was like, oh, like there's nothing shown. Maybe there actually will be something new here. It's more like, oh, there's nothing shown because there's nothing to show.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just the Wii that had kind of a weak tail end. It was also the 3DS and the Wii U and the GameCube and the N64. And Nintendo has a real history of, near the end of a generation, kind of slowing down on their software output. And I guess, yeah, it's like that's been the pattern for, 3 decades? So,
yeah,
my whole life. So, yeah, I guess... yeah, I mean, I had kind of mid expectations. Same as you, I expected a few ports, but my hopes were getting some remasters, like Twilight Princess, maybe Yoshi's Woolly World, and I was excited to play those. But I think what we got was a lot more exciting, to be honest. So let's jump into it, Derek. I want to talk about let's not go in order, okay? Let's just jump in.
Yep.
Let's just jump into what the most exciting announcement was. In my opinion, was Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, which was shown at the very end. I gotta say, going into this, I was kind of nervous yet hopeful. I'm like, well, this is as good a time as any to finally see Metroid Prime 4, but I would have been equally happy with a Metroid Prime 2 remastered. I just want to see something Metroid. So I guess it wasn't unexpected to see, but it also just kind of felt like this... I mean, I've watched a lot of reaction videos online, and it seems like people kind of went crazy for this. Some guy apparently, I watched, he hit the floor at the Nintendo store in New York. He looked like he was passing out and having a thing. I think the whole entire internet and the entire fandom of Metroid and Nintendo was kind of like, oh, finally. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we've never waited this long for a game ever.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's kind of interesting. When I was looking online, like I felt there are kind of two groups. There are some people that really didn't like this trailer, and some people that were really excited because finally we get to see Metroid Prime 4. I agree with you. Like this is probably the big show of the whole direct for me as well. I'm happy that it's 2025 because I think this will be kind of that switch to
Cross-gen?
Yeah, cross-gen kind of game, as opposed to just being stuck on one platform. I wish, as we do with all new gens, I wish it was only new gen to really push the power. But I'm happy that it's not coming and then it's kind of like, oh, we won't see it on the Switch 2. I'm hoping that it'll have some serious upgrades with the Switch 2. That being said, watching the trailer, I do feel a little bit of what I've kind of seen online, where the trailer is just not a very good trailer. Like I am excited by Metroid Prime 4. I'm excited, and I think it's gonna be great. I have trust in Retro Studios. Metroid is, especially the Prime series, are always great. But the trailer, like really, it doesn't do anything impressive. Like the combat looks kind of.
It's so quick of a trailer. Like let's be. It's like
I
four
know,
shots of gameplay.
But even that makes it kind of a weird trailer because it doesn't really show anything of what they're trying to show. I don't know. Like, do you really think it's going to come in 2025? Like, that's even my question. Is like, I think it could be in late 2025. I don't know. Like,
I do. I actually think this game is complete, and I agree. I think that if Switch 2 is coming in March, or early mid year, I think it's lined up to be either a launch game or like shortly after launch.
And that might be the case. But if that is the case, like, why didn't they show more in the trailer? Like, you don't have to show your whole wheelhouse of upgrades and power ups and stuff. But it's like they showed them in the opening segment use a charge blast and a missile against two space pirates that just stand there. Like it didn't really wow me in any way. And in my mind, it's like, well, if you're trying to get Metroid Prime 4 to be hyped because it's been 7 years or whatever, 8 years since it was talked about, you'd want to have a really freaking hyped trailer. Like this could have been a Breath of the Wild moment in my mind for the Prime series. And instead it was just like, oh, a 2-minute trailer of it shooting at a standing object. Like it wasn't like it was bad in my mind, but I do kind of agree with people where it's like, it just kind of fell flat for what the potential could have been, especially if what you're saying is done. Like, show us a whole bunch of different areas. Show us some cool combats. Show us like a quick clip of a big boss. Show us a cool upgrade. Like show us something a little bit different as opposed to just the very, 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 very basic. Like people were saying, you could have told someone, or you could have mixed this in with, let's say, Metroid Prime remastered gameplay. And a lot of people probably wouldn't have known.
Well, I mean, people would have picked it apart and known. I think, I certainly agree. If I was to predict what the Metroid Prime 4 final unveiling would have been, it would have been like a big unveiling after so much time. But it really is clear that this is just the intro of the game. Like they literally, it's like the pre-planet landing, you know what I mean, kind of section of the game. Like it isn't a bunch of clips from the middle of the game. It is literally the first 20 minutes of the game.
20, yeah, totally. But I just mean, like, why not in the last 15 seconds, like, before you show the title, go boom 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 boom, and like just show like all these like quick, it's like where there's like some crazy quick action shots, show that kind of thing, and then launch the title. But instead, it's like, oh, you shoot two pirates, and then Silex shows up, and then it's like.
My theory is, and maybe this wasn't the right marketing choice, especially for avid gamers like us, but I think they were very deliberate in trying to not show any of the gameplay or the new hook. Like whatever the new hook is with the controls or the weapons, they very deliberately did not show that. And I think what they were really just showing is, hey, this is a look at what it is. It's Metroid Prime. There's the ball. There's scanning. There's shooting and missiles. And here's Stylix. So I think they were like giving us the story bits and a hint of the story, and it's a title drop. But it very much was like, we are going to hold all of our cards close to our chest and not show you anything. And I think the thing is, if they had shown us more, it may have revealed a lot of those gameplay features that they did not want to show us. So I guess I'm hopeful, but in my mind, it's almost like, yeah, I wanted to see more, but nothing they should. I thought it looked beautiful. The music hit. I did take a couple of notes of things I noticed, and people are already doing kind of like breakdown videos. But a couple of things I noticed was when Samus lands on the planet, the da 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 da.
Yeah, it was sung by a
was
choir, right?
orchestrated, which was awesome. When Stylix is on camera, when like Stylix first looks at the camera in that close-up, there's like a wicked guitar riff. Like the music sounds awesome. And the other thing is that it looks like it's not going to have visors. It looks like you're maybe just going to press a single button to bring up a scan visor. And the other thing is that people notice that the D-pad selection or the weapon select, the four-way weapon selection, missiles was one of those selections. So people speculate 3 other gun options. And I mean, for all we know, there's like wicked Titanfall 2 style running and wall jumping in like jetpack and whipping and like the grappling hook. Like we really don't know, but it was very clear to me they're just giving us the brunt basics, giving us a title drop, Stylix, the color scheme, and basically just saying it's
Stylix.
coming. Stylix. So I guess I take it for what it is, and I have full confidence that I'm not looking at this being like, oh, it's just another boring Metroid game. Like I'm looking at this like you very deliberately showed us what you wanted to show us, and yeah.
Of course, I have total faith too, and I think it's gonna be great. I'm getting it at day one. It's gonna be awesome whenever it comes out. I just think they had a moment here to, for the first time in years, show Metroid Prime 4, and I understand the idea of like holding your cards, but like you can still hold your cards and make a bit of a sizzle to kind of be like, oh damn, this is gonna be wicked. Like tons of trailers do that where they show just a little bit more to be like, oh damn, like this game is gonna have some serious awesomeness to it without showing anything. Like, you know what I mean? Like this was like,
yeah. I mean,
I'm not upset. I'm not losing faith. I'm not like whatever. I'm just saying I think there's a slight missed opportunity here.
Yeah, and I'm not sitting here saying, oh my god, that was the Tears of the Kingdom trailer that blew my mind. It almost wasn't even a trailer. It was almost like a snippet and saying it's coming.
Yeah.
This is when it's coming.
That's how I felt.
But let's remember that like the initial Breath of the Wild showcase was a cutscene and a image of a field. Then they showed us a really weird Inoma and Miyamoto playing it at a game developer at the Game Awards in like 2015. Like Breath of the Wild did not start with that brilliant trailer.
But you know what? In a way it did, because Breath of the Wild was so different than most of the Zeldas we've ever seen. Where this didn't do anything to kind of change, like, if they showed one big open world, I'd be like, okay, this is cool. And that's all they showed. You know what I mean? Or they showed one new feature, I'm like, okay, this is really cool. But it really just looks like the other Metroid Prime games, which is fine. But it's like, if you're going to try to get us, like, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but
how little they showed to me says that there is that something special and hook that they didn't want to show us yet, very deliberately. And you never know, it could come from Japan saying, don't show the special thing. Don't show the dinosaur that you ride. Like, it very much could be that. And they might have sat in their thing being like, oh, this is an awesome little peek. The Stylix will drive people nuts. And they just missed the read of the room with Metroid fans. But all in all, I mean, it's a very good-looking game. It's positive. It looks to me polished and beautiful, and it's very obvious to me that this is just the very, very first segment of the game. Mm-hmm. And I think there is going to be that hook and that extra thing, and I don't think it's just going to be like, hey, there's missiles now that are green, that unlock green doors. There you go. I think there is going to be some sort of hook, and my prediction is that it's going to be a little more action oriented with more guns, more traversal options. You know what I mean? Maybe you're using the grappling hook in action more. I don't know. But they very deliberately didn't want to show that. And I think the thing is, they felt if it wasn't time to show that, they probably want to wait for the big Switch 2 unveiling for that. And Nintendo's like that, right? Like, we didn't see Tears of the Kingdom really until 2 months before, and we were like, oh my god, is this game going to be nothing? So by the time that big Metroid Prime 4 trailer is shown to us, maybe end of the year or along with the Switch 2 unveiling, it might just blow us away, and then we're like, okay, we'll forget that we ever had this opinion of this little tease.
Totally, and that's why I have total faith, just like you, and that's exactly what I'm saying. I have no lack of faith, as I've said about 5 times now. I just think this wasn't really... Like no, I just mean, we're talking about the biggest thing of this Direct, and it was the biggest thing for me too because of the name, but it really wasn't the most awesome trailer of the Direct in my mind.
It's hard to say. I mean, I think it was awesome in its own way. Like last time they did a title drop. So I guess for part of me, it's like, oh my god, it's coming. Metroid Prime 3 came out in 2017. It's been a very long time. Was it 2017? No, it's 2007. So it's been a very long time, and I think it looks great. I love the color. I love the music. I love the polish and like the. It's just I think it's gonna be great. And I guess for me the big one was that I'm now kind of like, oh, okay, it's coming for Switch, but like I'm accepting that, right? Because I was hoping it'd be a next gen game, but still, it's awesome. Like I can't wait for it. It's like it is my most wanted game right now, bar none. So yeah, I know what you're saying though. It didn't unveil everything, but I don't know.
Yeah, like the game itself is gonna blow me away. It just this moment didn't blow me away.
Yeah, totally. But I really think the graphics, like this is the best looking Switch game, like for sure.
Yeah, it does look very good. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that if they do make it cross, I really don't think Nintendo cares a lot about graphics, to be honest. Like I think they focus on like gameplay and ideas, and it just at no point I don't think I think with something like this, like sure it might get a faster load times and a little resolution bump on the Switch 2, but I really think it's not going to be some mega like Nintendo's not the kind of company that's like if they wanted to make Metroid open world, that was their plan, they could have done it on Switch as well. It's not like they needed next gen to do that. It's not they're not like we saw with the Xbox and and Sony showcases. Like Nintendo's not just giving us resolution bumps and new textures. Like they are always ideas and gameplay first. So I don't know. I have faith.
Yeah, me too.
The next game I'll jump into was the next biggest thing I think, which was Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. Derek, I'll let you go first on this one and what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I mean, like I know that we were talking the night before. Like there was a rumor that there was a 2D Zelda, possibly a remake. I was envisioning, a Link to the Past remake. When I saw this and it was the same style of Link's Awakening remake, I was like, oh, okay, like this is definitely gonna be Link to the Past remake. Look like the same graphical style, but then I like the twist. So for those that didn't watch the direct, basically Link at the beginning of the game looks like he gets sucked into like a dark portal with Ganondorf or Ganon, and you become Zelda. Like the playable character is Zelda. I thought this looked really, really cool. I'm a big fan of the 2D Zelda games. I played, I think, more of them than you have. Played them to death. I like the direction that this is going for in some ways. There are some things that I wish were more in it. But I really am excited to play this.
What do you wish was more in it?
Like, I not that I necessarily think that these things won't be in it, but it would have been nice to have confirmation that it was. Is things like, are there dungeons and bosses, and are there, is there combat in the same way, or is it just you're summoning enemies to fight? Like how game breaking are the puzzles? Like, are we talking like, Breath of the Wild, where you can get to the very end, the beginning of the game by stacking tables? Like where I think I have a lot of questions, and it doesn't mean I'm deflated. I'm actually really looking forward to it because of these questions. There's something about this that feels very Zelda, and something about this that feels very not Zelda, which is cool. But I'm like, oh, am I gonna like that because it's not quite the Zelda games we've played before? Like I just like, you know what I mean? Like I have high expectations, and I think it'll meet some of those, but I also think it'll not quite be totally what I envision in my head, which is fine. But I just makes me a little more hesitant being like, oh, is this going to be in that echelon of Link to the Past, of, Link Between Worlds? I don't know.
So I think to wonder if there'll be dungeons and bosses is a little silly because it's a Zelda game. Like it seems like of course there are, and if there's not,
well, there's no sword.
Yeah, but if there's not, there are areas that are clearly caves, and it's like if there's not dungeons, there'll be something else. Like it's it's like. It's not like, oh, there's no dungeons. It's only a 2-hour game.
No, yeah, of course. But I mean, more so, it's like, again, how game breaking are the dungeons? Like, are there going to be items you get in the dungeon that like change the way you play, or is it all simply you have the one item and you make echoes, and the echoes let you solve every single puzzle depending on what you do? It's kind of one of those things where, again, it's like it didn't quite show me. And Nintendo, like you said, it does this a lot, where it just showed kind of the first feature of the game, and I'm curious if that's the feature, because it looks like this feature is like endless possibilities. But at the same time, it's like, oh, is that the only thing that's really happening in the game? Is like you just copy things and paste them, which is cool. But I'm hoping that there's other things to do and collect and see and play.
Well, okay, so there's a little snippet at the end of the. Well, I'll just jump in my feeling. I think this game looks awesome.
Me too.
I think this was in a lot of ways like the most surprising and one of the games where I'm like, oh, Nintendo has a game of the year potential here, because it basically takes the, I guess I want to say the open concept of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom of like, and brings it to that 2D Zelda where it's like you can kind of choose how you want to play this game. I'm all down for like a different way of thinking. Like people are like, oh, why doesn't Zelda have a sword or bows and arrows? And I'm like, well, that'd almost be kind of boring. Like this is way more interesting, I think.
Yeah, it's very, very different. And that's what I'm trying to say. Like I'm excited the same way you are. It is a different spin, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's more just like I don't know what to expect. So it's not like I almost don't want to walk into this being like, oh, this is going to be the bread and butter, another enjoyable Zelda. It's like, oh, this could be very, very different. It could be way more puzzle heavy. It could be a lot more free form and abstract. Like, who knows? And that makes me excited.
Well, let me give you a few things that I've watched the trailer about 5 times, and I've read online a lot of people speculating and what they've noticed. When you have this tri-rod, like the magical rod, and the tri-rod, someone pointed out, sounds like a sex toy, which I agree with. There's like 3 little arrows behind it, and whenever you summon something, it uses one of those little pointers. So it's like, and then later on, you had more of those. So clearly, it can be leveled up to allow you to use more, build more stuff. So at the beginning, you can only maybe summon 3 tables because that's your power rod. That's it. But and also summoning an enemy had to use 2 of those little magic points. So when Zelda summons 2 of the Bokoblins, they use 2 each. So it's not like you can just summon like 50 of them. So I think there is going to be a lot of that where like as you progress through the game, like you can't get up that mountain yet because you can't summon 8 blocks. You know, but maybe someone, and also a few other things I noted, you know, Aonuma-san says, there's so many things that you can summon, I couldn't even keep count. So that shows me that there's so many different things. And also there's one little segment in there, or 2 segments I noted that were specific. One was when the wind was blowing in that cave. And the first time Zelda puts a table, jumps on the table, and then jumps over the wind blowing. And then the next time puts a tree in front of the wind and walks in front of it. And it's a very simple example, but I think it's a very good example of like you can use these objects with physical properties mixed with a little bit of light platforming to solve all these puzzles in different ways. Because for all we know, she could have used a tree on both. You know?
Yes, and I think that's awesome, but it also has that kind of caveat downside of, well, I'm just going to use a tree on every single one because the tree is just the best way to do it. So unless they really, and I'm hoping that they thought about that and made puzzles where it's like, oh, the tree doesn't work on that, and the table doesn't work on this one, and this one you have to use something like a box.
I have a feeling it's 100% that because, you know, there's got to be examples where like, oh, the tree doesn't work, it's too heavy, or this will blurt light on fire. Like, Nintendo they're brilliant designers, and the thing is because they've taken that, I want to say Tears of the Kingdom, as even though it's like my favorite game, it did have ways to break it in a way where you're like, okay, I can just, you know, reverse time on this block and cheat the whole dungeon. I think the fact that this is 2D and they're taking that same principle, they're going to actually rein it back, and I think it'll actually be more satisfying in this game to solve the puzzles. And I also think that there's another clip where Zelda is able to jump up on top of the trees. And even that opening clip where she's walking out and you kind of see the whole world, you know, it's almost reminiscent of Breath of the Wild. I think they're taking an open style like Breath of the Wild. It's not going to be like A Link to the Past or Link's Awakening where it's like very linear, trees lock your way, you got to go here first, then go here, then go there. It's going to be like, go. There's 5 dungeons. Here's the ending dungeon. You need X amount of power to get in. And you can see in the distance on that big wide shot that there are those big, big mountains. And I think traversing up the mountain and like, you know, using a little wing glider down, like I think we're going to see much more verticality built into this game. So it just looks like a more fun exploration for me. Where every other 2D Zelda is other than Link's, what's the one with on 3DS? A Link Between
A Link Between
Worlds.
Worlds.
Most of the Zelda games are very linear, and they're very guided. It's like, oh, there's trees, but these trees are just guiding me down a path. This game looks like it's doing the completely different thing, where it's saying, here's a big open world. Find items here, find items there, build up your roster of items, use them to solve different puzzles. Maybe you'll be able to go to this dungeon out of order. Maybe you'll be able to find a way to cheat the game with some special this, that, and the other thing. I think that's awesome. Like, I love the idea of just being thrown into the world, go off. And there's little segments where, there's a segment where she gets like a bomb thing on her head that she's like shooting bombs.
Yeah, a bomb rock or whatever.
So I think some of that's like really cool. Like, so I think you'll have like those almost Mario Galaxy style segments where it's like, oh, in this temple, you're going to be able to shoot this bomb thing, and that'll be like this cool gameplay segment here. And then when you're out of the real world, like that bomb thing won't have any relevance, or you know what I mean? There'll be a lot of that individualized gameplay.
Like I totally agree with you in the sense that this is going to be more open world, and I am excited about the idea that this is kind of like that hybrid between A Link to the Past, let's say, and Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. And like I think it's going to kind of mesh both those ideas, and I think that's Nintendo saying, hey, we have a winning formula with this Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild kind of free-form concept. Let's see if it works in 2D. And I think that's kind of, they're just saying, let's put Zelda on it to give it a reason why it kind of makes sense to go, kind of crazy with it. I don't think it's going to go as far as like having a hang glider, like you just mentioned. Like, I just don't think that works well in top-down 2D space like this. And I do agree with the open world, but I don't know if you know this, but there's some people talking about online, if you look closely and if you've played the games enough, it has the same map as A Link to the Past. So at least from that one wide shot, it's an identical like 1-to-1 map. Maybe not 1-to-1, but it's like very, very, very similar. So I still agree though that I think it won't be this path of trees is you can only go this one way. I think it'll be, hey, you can get around this completely and go in any direction you want. So I think it'll be very similar to Link Between Worlds, maybe even further like you said. But it is the same map, so don't expect something to be vastly different than those.
True, and I disagree with you on the height thing. I think that's going to be a huge part of it. I mean, we saw her build like a 10 water height thing that she swam up. Like, I think 3, 10, same thing. But I think height is going to play into it. I really do.
I think height will play into it, and I think height will play a big role in the puzzles and the dungeons and like you said, the mountain climbing. But hang gliding is a very different thing, because if I hang glide off the mountain and head south, how high up am I above those trees right now? Like, it doesn't quite make visual sense. I agree height will play a role. I don't think a hang glider will exist, though.
Yeah, maybe not. I mean, there was one part where Zelda like jumps off a cliff in a castle and is floating in the air with like wind and stuff. So I just wasn't sure if that would play into the height. But we'll see. I mean, I think this is looking like it's going to be Game of the Year on Switch. And
yeah, I think this could definitely be Switch Game of the Year.
If you ask me to guess a Metacritic, I'd say 90.
I'd say like 86, 87.
Okay. But I mean, to be honest, the most disappointing part for me was the return to the Link's Awakening graphical style. I would have liked something brand new, and also it really makes me nervous about the frame rate, because the frame rate bothered me so much in a Link's Awakening that it gave me little headaches, and I hope that they just find a way to fix that. Like, it sounds like this might, I don't know if Grezzo is making this game, because they made all the other Zelda remasters. It might be like a Grezzo plus Nintendo EPD joint team game. Like, they're working together, but it looks like I just don't think Grezzo's capable of, they haven't shown that they're capable of this level, and Aonuma I don't think was directly involved in those other games they remastered, so I think this has a little more pedigree than what we've seen, and A Link's Awakening got an 89 on Metacritic, so I can see this I can see this getting rave reviews, and people being like, this is brilliant, and people posting on Twitter all these different ways of solving different things, and like funny ways of doing it, and spamming out enemies in certain rooms. And the other thing I was really excited about was they showed towns. And that's something that Link's Awakening didn't have. So they showed the Zora area, and they showed another little town. So it's like there'll be a lot more NPCs, and that's something that was really missing from Link's Awakening.
I mean, Link's Awakening does have the starting town, and Link's Awakening is also like a much older game.
You're right. I'm just saying, like, it's so that's why I'm excited to explore those worlds.
That would be cool.
Graphical style.
So one thing I saw some people talking about, and I actually picked up on this while watching, is they have, I think it's both kinds of Zoras. They have
Deku, I saw that.
Yeah, they have Dekus. They have Impa. Like, they have a lot of
the Deku tree looked great.
Yeah, like there's gonna be a lot of kind of cool characters in this game, and I think I'm excited for that. Even just like almost because I feel like a lot of the times I play the 2D Zelda games, they feel a little bit removed from the lore, I guess, or the world of Zelda, where it's like you don't really feel the same way when you play Ocarina of Time. Like the Zora in Ocarina of Time, like that Zora style lasts and you know, through all the different Zelda games. Right, even if it looks a little bit different, let's say in Breath of the Wild, it's like you feel like they're still the Zoras and the Gorons, where it's like, you know, you don't really see those characters or those races in the top-down Zeldas. So I'm excited to actually see some of those characters and races in areas like the Deku Tree in a top-down Zelda. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, same. And one other note was the music playing in the trailer is great. Like if you just watch it and listen to the music, you're like, oh wow, like they're putting some bells and whistles into this. Man, it's just awesome to get like a brand new Zelda and for it to be something that looks like it's not Triforce Heroes. You know what I mean?
Yes,
like, It looks like a brand new single player Zelda with brand new ambitious ideas. It's taking the 2D formula forward. Like
people are excited just to play Zelda too, just to be able to have.
I saw people saying they were crying because of that. Yeah. Crying. They're like, oh my god, finally!
Yeah, finally. Yeah.
Like, yeah. So people are like, oh my god, this is my life's purpose right here. And it comes out 3 months, and like no one.
I know, that's crazy.
Coming. Like it's just. I think I'm really excited for this. This will be I'll be pre-ordering this probably tonight. Which brings me to a question at the end because I'm gonna get a voucher and like, what's the other game I'm gonna get? Right. Let's talk about the other game they showed, which is Super Mario Party Jamboree.
Okay.
So
I didn't think that this was the next thing you were going to talk about, but yeah, let's go for it.
So this game, the visual style of the title and Jamboree, like in my brain, is so close to Super Mario Party that's like, I don't know. You're right. Last time we talked about the naming conventions of Mario Party, I'm kind of like, oh, they're just going off. They're just throwing at a dartboard at this point for names. Right?
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Jamboree.
The only thing I can imagine is they're trying to keep with the. It's like, instead of the Mario Party line, we're now in the Super Mario Party line, and this is Super Mario Party Jamboree.
Good point. Okay. Besides that, this does look like the best Mario Party ever.
Yeah, it looks great.
Not only is there more, finally there's 7 boards. It's not just 4 or 5. Like they actually put in a 7, and out of the 5 new ones, they all look pretty clever. There's a Mario Kart one. There's a
nice spin on them.
A mall one.
Yeah.
And the thing is, this series has sold incredibly well. Like this is like almost, this series is selling as well as Mario Kart did pre Mario Kart Wii. Like this is a mega franchise now, and the production values now finally look like it. And there are over 110 minigames, which is more than they've ever had. They have motion and non-motion, so certainly you can flick a switch and turn them off. They've got on 20-player online mode, and then they're like, and there's more modes, there's more stuff. And I'm like, wow, the graphics look really good. My only thing is I just don't have any friends to play it with, so I'm like, do I spend $90 on a new game to... but because I don't feel like I even played the last Mario Party enough to justify the price of it. So I'm a little sad that I'm not like a 14-year-old. But I gotta say, this looks awesome. I think this looks really good, and yeah.
Like I agree. I think the thing that got me most excited is seeing that 20-player mode. I don't know if it's like if you're on a board even, or it's just mini games. But either way, like that's so cool. Like I think that's a really awesome idea. Could you imagine eventually they got to the point where it's Mario Party 99, and it's just like 99 people doing these mini games.
I know. I'm wondering, like, how does that even work? Like, are there mini games for 20 players, or is it like a mini game where like you go into rooms of 4 and then the loser gets kicked out? Like, it's gonna have some sort of twist on it, right?
I think there's multiple ways it could do that, and that's why I was curious. Like, is it just a mode where it's like the mini game modes where it's like you just have like the same 30 mini games and whatever? But anyways, I thought it looked really cool. I like that it has also 7 maps. You know, I'm the kind of person that like I wish it didn't have 7. I wish it had like 12. Like, is it really that hard to keep adding more and more maps?
No kidding.
Seven's fine, I guess. I'll survive, and I think that's kind of one of their best reasons of making a new Mario Party. As silly as it sounds, like, I know mini games are big, but I think the maps are also something that they're kind of holding on to keep pumping out new games.
No kidding. They could totally make this a games as a service and like charge for everything. You know.
Totally. I forget what I was gonna say, but I overall liked it. And when you just mentioned about not getting it just because you don't have people to play with, I'm kind of the same, because I have the other one and I've only played it maybe, I don't know, 15, 20 hours, but I've had a lot of fun with the people I played it for those 15, 20 hours. And I'm thinking like, my wife will probably want to play it with me. It'd probably be a game she actually would want to play. And, I have some couple friends that probably want to join. I have my buddies that would play. I would never play this alone, probably. But the thing I was thinking about is, you and me, if this has online, and if we convinced our sister to get it, it'd be pretty freaking fun to have the 3 of us, and then have, especially if there's 20-player mode, each of us has someone else that's hanging out with us, and now we have 6 of us playing. There actually could be some really cool stuff going on there. So I don't know quite how the online works, if you could do 2 players on each person's Switch or whatever, but I think there is potential for us all to have a lot of fun playing this game.
I believe that Super Mario Party and Mario Party Superstars had an online mode.
I know it has online, but is it going to have online where I can have a friend and me play online with you and your friend?
I believe, yes, it's how it worked in Super Mario Party, yeah.
Okay. So
well, yeah.
I'd be a lot more interested if like, I think I'm gonna get it just because I know my friends will love to play it. It's kind of one of those games that.
But just as a note, Derek, I do have a feeling Mario Party is usually a 4-player game, and I have a feeling the 20-player mode is going to be like some sort of almost like a quasi 99 game. Like, you're right, like you might not be able to join with friends. It might just be like you join in and you get kicked out really quick if you lose, and it's like a 10-minute match. And I have a feeling it's like not quite what we think it is.
Even if it's you, me, our sister, and my wife, like, that's still a fun. To me, like, that'd be a fun night.
Yeah, but I mean, we could do that now too. We could do it on Mario. We could play Mario Party 1, 2, and 3 that way as well with the Nintendo Switch Online.
Well, let's do it. I think it'd be great.
If you have Nintendo Switch Online, I play the games on all the time with my friend. We love playing those games online.
I tell you, I'm down to play things, but you don't tell me. I've had this conversation on our podcast multiple times. I need more advance notice than a half an hour before saying we're playing tonight, and you just never tell me. Like, tell me, like, True. Hey, let's play on Friday night. I'm like, okay, I could do that.
The nice thing with my friend Adrian in Mexico is that, like, I can usually message him and he's down to play like within the next 10 minutes always. Like, he works from home. He doesn't, it's easy to jump in for him. So we've been playing Banjo and Mario Tennis online. It's fun. Nice. So, but yeah, I mean, let's see. I don't know. Of all the things that I'm going to spend $90 on, this wasn't necessarily the highest.
Yeah, I think I played this game with like my friends Rob and Alex, because we played the hell out of the Superstars. So yeah, like I'm not necessarily sold on this one just because, like you said, who am I going to play it with? It does look great. I'm on the fence.
The real question for me, I mean, this could be a bigger discussion, but this is the tail end of the Nintendo Switch's life. They've always released Mario Parties near the tail end, but is this something we think will continue to sell really well on the Switch 2 as a backwards compatible? Or will it kind of have like the least amount of sales from the 3 Mario Party games on Switch? Like, I'm just curious how the sales trajectory of this game will be, or if they'll kind of give it a second life on Switch 2, or like, I'm just curious how the Switch 1 to Switch 2 will impact sales,
but it could be one of those weird things where, let's say, Jamboree comes out and then it's bundled as a free downloaded game, or you can get a $30 download code extra to have this on your Switch 2.
Yeah, you know what they should do? This is a good. Switch 2 should come out and say you get a free downloadable game, and it's like one of these 5 past games. Yeah. How cool would that be? Like, you buy a Switch 2, you're like, oh, you want Mario Party? You want Yoshi's Crafted World?
Kart Deluxe?
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll keep selling that, but I just mean like the games that aren't as lucrative.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's talk about the next big game they showed.
Like he said, not as lucrative, and then you already talked about this one being extremely lucrative of a series.
Yeah, you're right. If anything, if they're going to give away a Mario Party game, it'll be like Super Mario Party. Yeah. You know what I mean? Who are we kidding? Nintendo ain't giving anything away. They just don't have to anymore. Let's talk about the next big thing they showed, which was Switch Sports Basketball. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. It's like you're missing a big one.
So Mario and Luigi Brothership was shown, and you know what's interesting? I watched a lot of like prediction videos, and one of them was like, you know, we've had Mario RPG, we've had Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. What if they gave us a Mario and Luigi remake the same way? So when I first saw this footage, I'm like, oh wow, this is a Mario and Luigi remake, and I was like, wow, the animation's really good, and this looks like I really like the look of this. And it's a brand new one. I think it looks really good.
Just to jump in, a very cool and different graphical style than we've seen for the Mario series before. Like very different in my mind.
It feels like the cartoon commercial for the Game Boy Advance games would have been. You know what I mean? Like it feels like that art style on the box art of those games, like fully realized into an animated cartoon.
Totally, but it gave me kind of like almost like Okami vibes, like that very dark black borders around things, but like a very watercolored kind of, like it looked really nice.
Yeah, and the thing is I appreciate is that, you know, it's not a amazing looking game in a way, but it has this kind of handheld quality to it where it feels like quaint, like you can do a little bit, stop, do a little bit, stop. So it feels like kind of it's more suitable on the handheld side, but it just looks great. It looks more up my alley than something like Paper Mario Thousand Year Door.
I was really loving, by the way.
You're loving?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, I just thought this one looked really good. I really like the animation. Big surprise. I'm curious who's developing it, considering Alpha Dream went out of business.
Yeah, no idea. Look, yeah, no idea.
But this might be the game I get along with Zelda on the vouchers, because I played a little of the Mario and Luigi games back on the Game Boy Advance, and I got pretty far, but I just wasn't a big Game Boy Advance player. But I just really like the mix of like lots of platforming mixed into the RPG elements in a way that seems a little more platformy and a little more engaging than Paper Mario.
Mm-hmm.
Paper Mario
RPG, even Mario RPG.
Even Mario RPG, it just seems a little more bouncy, a little more. It's like really mixing their jumping qualities, and there's parts where you're like you have to jump individually as Mario and Luigi. It just. And again, like I love the animation quality of the characters, especially. Yeah, this was a big surprise for me. I don't know. What do you think about this, Derek?
Yeah, first off, like I already mentioned, the art style looks really great. I like the idea. From what I can tell, it looks like you're going from like island to island, and kind of that idea of like, you know, there's a very segmented world that you're in, and it's not quite level based, but it kind of feels level based for an RPG, which I do agree with you. It kind of has that bite-sized, you know, handheld, you know, you can play and drop it whenever you want for a few, like whatever, like play for a few minutes. The one thing I really struggle with, and I think I'll probably get this anyways because it looks really great. The one thing I've struggled with, and I've noticed it since the first Mario and Luigi game, is for me, I like Mario and Luigi, but the selling point of most of the RPGs, most of the Mario RPGs, is the cast. And Mario and Luigi, it's only Mario and Luigi. And I know they get different power-ups and different skills, and they get shells, or they get hammers, they get new jump moves. But really, it's just Mario and Luigi. And, you know, when I think of Paper Mario 64 or 1,000 Year Door or Super Mario RPG or even, you know, Super Paper Mario, it's like, oh man, the companions are really kind of the one of the drawing points or selling points to me. And, you know, I'm excited to use these powers, but I worry that it's going to be, you know, oh my god, I'm still playing Mario and Luigi and they're the same characters after 8 hours. Like, I don't find the what's the word? Like the NPCs, like the secondary cast in these games, ever very interesting. You know, like they're not voice acted. They're just gonna have a few little quippy speech bubbles, and then you just move on. You're out of the island or move on away from them. You're just stuck with Mario and Luigi, and I think Mario and Luigi are very dull.
They're like
as far
mute. They're mute.
Yeah, yeah, like dull and mute as a personality goes. Where usually the ensemble cast is really kind of the fun part of it. But otherwise, like you said, I think the actual platforming and I think the combat is way more involved and interesting. And I think the levels look really cool. The idea is really fun. The graphics, again, look amazing. But I'm just hesitant because it's like, oh man, like I want to see more fun characters to play with. Really,
They did show a few NPCs and like the main enemy, and they look kind of like you got this from an AI generator.
Yeah, like the robot weird things. Yeah,
Yeah, it wasn't like, oh, that looks cool. I mean, how hard? I always say this. Just give us Bowser's kids, Waluigi, Wario, Morton, and
if this
give
game,
us those guys. Like,
I would love if this game halfway through you unlocked Wario and Waluigi and there's 4 of you. Like that would be such a just give us those 4. Like that would be cool.
Maybe they will unveil that in the next Direct in September.
Like you know what's weird is this game is called Brothership. And there is that kind of vibe of, well, Wario and Waluigi are sort of like related, not related to Mario and Luigi. Like that would be really cool if there was like the brotherhood of Mario.
Yeah, I mean, why is it called Brothership? Isn't Mario Luigi's dad?
No. What?
I'm just kidding. Imagine I thought that. Oh my god, you're telling me that they're brothers? They're not father and son?
That'd be like the death of our podcast. You know how many comments we would get of being like, how do you not know that?
But they did.
No,
they did bring in.
It's called Brothership because they're on a ship. I hope you understood that.
Yes, totally. And it's play on words, right? But I also there has been Baby Bowser and Baby Bowser were in the trailer, and we have had the baby Mario and Luigi show up in this series, so there might be some more interesting characters than you think. But yeah, I mean, like this could have been something that fell flat for me, and it absolutely did not. Like it kind of sold me on the trailer.
Oh, totally. You know what's funny is I watched it the first time. And it was playing automatically at 480p, and I was like, this looks so like janky, not janky, but like jaggedy, and did not look. It looked terrible. And then I was going online. Everyone's like, oh man, this looks so good. The art style looks so good. The graphics look really cool. And I'm like, something's weird with what I'm watching and what they're watching. So I switched it to 4K, like 1080p or whatever. I forget which one I picked, but it looked so much better. Like, really looks nice.
Yeah, and I mean, just to think, in the last year, Mario RPG, Paper Mario, and this, like, it's like 3 series that could have been dead are now like feel fully alive.
I know, and if all 3 do well, then I think it gives a little bit of credence to continuing all 3 of those kind of styles of RPG.
Have we gotten the sales numbers for May yet? Do we know if Paper Mario has sold well? We know in Japan it's done well, but
I don't know, honestly. I haven't been following the US sales.
I know that Mario RPG has sold better than the initial release, but I don't think it necessarily sold 10 million and blew up. But yeah, it's great to have these series alive again.
Yeah, totally.
Derek, did you want to talk about Switch Sports base basketball? Like, I don't really care.
I don't really care. I thought it looked cool, but I mean, I don't have Switch Sports, and this won't convince me to get it.
I mean, it's free, so I will give it a go. But I am just curious, like, what's the trajectory of the Switch Sports game? Like, is it gonna continue into the Switch 2? Are they gonna release the Switch Sports 2? Like, is this a games as a service? It's free? Like, where's the I'm kind of confused what the trajectory of this game is, right? Like, it's been a long time since the last update, and people were kind of like,
it's kind of a sporadic update, yeah.
It's a little odd, but I think maybe they'll. I mean, I'm thinking they're going to do a Switch Sports 2 at some point, and maybe they just have a team working on it, and they just have this ready. I don't know. But anyways, there's one more game that Nintendo showed that was pretty significant, I think, and that's
okay. I was going to say Nintendo World Championships.
No, well, we already knew about that, and I don't think that's significant.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it looked pretty cool, but yeah.
It does look cool, but it didn't really do enough for me. And the thing is, like, you play with people's ghosts, not even online. And
okay, I didn't know that.
It just doesn't seem like something that I would get my attention more than playing once.
Yeah.
Like for an hour. And so they showed Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. What do you think about this, Derek?
Like, it's cool. It's cool to have both Donkey Kong retro games on the same system. I don't really I didn't buy Tropical Freeze on the Switch, and if I was gonna buy either of them, I would probably buy Tropical Freeze instead. But for those that like want to have both, I think that's great. I don't really think it was necessary, and kind of like how we talked about when we discussed predictions and kind of what we want Nintendo to do in the next 6 to 12 months, let's say. Out of all the ports and remakes that they could put, this is the one where I get it, but it's not really the one I care about. Like, I think, like you said, Woolly World would be a lot more fun to put on. I played the hell out of this game when I had it on the Wii, and I just don't really need to play it again. For those that want it, great.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm like, this should have been Woolly World, but I get why they want to keep kind of DK in the main ecosphere. I think they do have a Donkey Kong game not ready, but like in development or in the pipe for Switch 2. And I think this was just kind of a way to like get them all in one house on the Switch. For what I can tell on the trailer, this looks like an absolute straight HD re-up. Like, there is no enhancement to the graphics at all. It's literally just the same game up-res. Like, it seems like something they could have released long time ago.
Agreed.
The one thing it does add the 3DS stages. I already had it. Yeah, I had it on Wii and 3DS, so probably not going to buy it a third time. And I 100%ed it both times, so I don't think I'm going to go for this. But yeah, I guess it's good it's there. I mean, at this point, it came out in 2010? So they're legitimately 12-year-olds who have never even... This came out before they were born.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
And honestly, at some point, I'd want every single Nintendo game to be HD on the Switch family. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I was thinking the same thing. Like, there's something nice about having games just be on the Switch or further, like Switch or Switch 2, like later on, because the Wii U and the Wii has just, no one's gonna have the Wiimotes for forever, and the Wii U just didn't do that well. It has a weird controller too, but like now that it's on the Switch, it's so easy just to like put it on the next system, or like make it backwards compatible, like it's hopefully gonna be for the Switch 2.
Yeah.
Like, it's just nice to now have it on, like, that's what I was kind of saying, like, I could get Pikmin 1, 2, 3, and 4, Donkey Kong Country Returns, and Tropical Freeze, and have them all on the Switch, and play them all on the Switch 2, and Luigi's Mansion 2 and 3, like, I don't know why they don't have Luigi's Mansion 1, but it's kind of nice to, like, I'm like, building the collection of all these games from the past that are now going to be on this Switch 2, like, that's why I wish they had... Why not put Paper Mario 1? And why not put Luigi's Mansion 1? Just so we have, like, the complete set on these systems.
I think Paper Mario 1 would be a little more work than this game or even Luigi's Mansion 1.
Totally, but I'm just saying Paper Mario 2, Thousand Year Door, like, they did that. Why can't they do at least... I know they have to do work for it, but why didn't they do that for Paper Mario 64 as well?
Yeah, true. I think they could in the future. I do think there's this kind of cutoff where if the game came out up until the N64, there might not ever really remake it unless it's a big remake, like a big Mario 64 or Ocarina of Time remake one day. But I think it's just because of the limitations of file sizes, right? Like GameCube and beyond, like GameCube, Wii, and 3DS are like stuck on those consoles and are built on modern hardware that'll be a lot easier to port over. Where games before that on the N64, it's like why remake Paper Mario 64? It's completely competent to be played on that NSO. Like, there's less reason for it. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm thinking. Where it's like, but games on the Wii are like legitimately trapped there and are not as hard to upscale. So I wouldn't be surprised if I think we'll get Luigi's Mansion 1 eventually because they had a 3DS port. I think we'll get Woolly World and Yoshi's Crafted World and all those things. I don't think we'll get like a barrage of remakes pre-N64. Like, I don't think we'll ever get... I think Nintendo just sees those as complete.
You mean pre-GameCube or pre-N64?
N64 and before. GameCube, I think we'll see remakes and remasters and re-releases of all
pre-N64 just means pre-N64 just means before N64.
Yeah, okay. Well, pre-GameCube then. We're seeing a lot of Game Boy Advance. We're seeing Game Boy, and I think that'll continue.
Yeah.
They did show Luigi's Mansion 2 again, but there's not much to say on that. I think it was more just it's coming next week kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's actually coming this week, isn't it? Isn't it coming on Friday?
I think it's Wednesday or something next week. It's Thursday next week.
Oh, wow, okay.
Friday is Elden Ring.
Okay, so the last thing they showed that was kind of Nintendo-centric was the NSO updates. And this is some of the awesome available today ones. For one, it has Direct Dinosaur Hunter, But you and I both have the Turok 1 and 2 remaster, so this is kind of pointless. You know, those remasters are so good.
That was my question. Like, I didn't understand. Didn't I get a Turok game for the Switch already?
You got the remaster.
So what is this?
It's just a Nintendo Switch Online port. It's like you're playing it on the N64.
So wait. They made a remaster, and I bought that, and now they're putting this out for free on the Switch Online. It's just so I understand, because I saw it. Yes. Like, don't I already own this game? Okay.
Yes, but the version that you and I both have of Turok 1 and 2 like has all these additionals, right? It has
the
control updates and everything. The Nintendo Switch Online is almost like a preserving history thing. It's like, here's just the port of the game.
Yeah.
Maybe it runs it's upscaled to 720 and you can use a pro controller, but it will be the game with all the fog and all the no maps and no gyro controls, and like a lot of things won't be there. To me, this is a little pointless. But I mean, Acclaim, which is I guess sold off because the games don't say Acclaim on the box anymore. They say Acclaim in the game, but it's like someone bought the rights to all these games because Extreme G came for Nintendo Switch Online.
Oh yeah,
remember that game?
Yeah.
So we're gonna see more and more third parties, which I think is exciting. But Turok was the weakest of the three. Metroid Zero Mission, that's awesome. Great game. Zelda: A Link to the Past 4 Swords, that's awesome. I can't wait to play that with my friends online. If you get it, we can all play together. It's really fun to play Link Cable Online. But the big one is Perfect Dark. I've been waiting to play this on N64. I know it's on Xbox, but like to play it in the N64 world feels more like authentic. And the way they upgraded GoldenEye, I gotta say, like, it was a little better done than, because they made it 16:9. The textures look cleaner, the frame rate was cleaner. Like, it was a better experience on Switch. People might argue against that, but you got to go and switch your controls around in the control settings. But the thing with Perfect Dark is it's got co-op, so this might be a really fun game to actually play online. Like, GoldenEye's multiplayer is a little weak because it's just one-on-one. It's bad strafing. But this game is like, no, like, me and my friend can actually go and do the missions together, or do counter co-op, or like go fight bots and do some of those multiplayer missions. Like, this is a really, really cool game to have online play. So I'm definitely gonna play Perfect Dark in N64. I actually can't wait. It's awesome.
Nice.
There were a couple other games shown. I took down notes for 3 different games. Do you want to talk about any games they showed?
There's one that really jumped out to me.
What's that?
I'm just trying to scroll through to make sure I didn't miss any. Yeah, so there's only one game that really was like, oh man, this looks really cool. Like, jumped up to I put it on my list of like games to keep an eye out for.
Can I guess what it is?
Yeah.
Phantasian Neo Dimension?
It is not.
Oh, interesting.
I have to look at that game again because I thought that was like kind of just a weird like turn-based RPG. Didn't do super too much for me.
What's the game that you're thinking?
Mio.
Oh, interesting. Okay, that's coming out next year, though, right?
Yeah, 2025. Mio, Memories in Orbit. I don't know if it was in your list of 3. Was it?
No, but here's the thing. I remember seeing the trailer for it and being like, this has an amazing art style. But I was also like, oh, it looks a little choppy. I think I'm going to wait till I can play it on PS5 or Switch 2. So, like, I want to play some good frame rate.
I don't care about it being a Switch thing. I just mean this game looks really cool. So art style looks great. The music was really cool. The gameplay is like almost like a mix of, Metroidvania, Hollow Knight, but actually more like Ori, actually. It has kind of that Ori Celeste kind of platforming vibe to it as well. But with still bosses in Metroidvania style too. So this game, like, instantly was like, this is awesome. Everything, it hits all the right boxes for me.
It's a beautiful art style.
Yeah, and just a cool, just everything about it hit the right notes. So definitely on my radar. Like you said, I mean, 2025, we didn't get a lot to see from it, but definitely one to watch for sure.
Yeah, I thought that one looked really cool. I think when I saw 2025, I was kind of like, down the line. So I didn't.
Yeah, you'll see it again, and then yeah, exactly, yeah.
One of the games I took a note for was Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake. I just know a lot of people are buzzing about it.
I just don't. I can't get into the Dragon Quest games because of the it's gonna sound so nitpicky. The camera when you do combat, that when it goes down to like first person and the monster's in front of you.
Does this game do that?
I'm like 95% sure it does.
Okay, I don't like that either. That's what Earthbound does. I really don't like
It
that
just
either. It bothers me.
it totally ruins the experience for me. I'll have to double check. Maybe it is. Like, I think, they do a lot of HD. These HD 2D games have always looked beautiful. Dragon Quest has just never really been a series I've been into. Again, if it has that combat thing, I know it's a nitpick, but it just drives me up the wall.
Only the old Dragon Quest do that, though. By the way, like Dragon Quest, like 7, 8, 9, 10.
I know they
do
don't. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna get this. It's not my kind of game. I know you like the HD 2D games, and this looked pretty cool. The other game I mentioned was called Fantasian Neo Dimension.
So I remember kind of skimming through this because I was at work while watching this, so I kind of skimmed through when it didn't fully jump out at me. But I will definitely look at this again. Is this a remake of a game?
No, so it's an original RPG by the director Hironobu Sakaguchi. So he's kind of like the godfather of Final Fantasy, but he also made the game Last Story on Wii. Like, he's like a reputable designer. So this is like his latest game, right?
But there's never been a Fantasian game before either. Even like
I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, I could be wrong, but I just thought this game had this kind of like almost classic PlayStation style
like PS1,
to it.
PS2 kind of
Pre-rendered backgrounds, and the pre-rendered backgrounds look sharp. And the other thing is, it has this kind of interesting mechanic in the turn-based battling where you can like aim a projectile, and how it hits the enemies is like dependent on how much damage they take, and you can. It seemed like kind of a cool mechanic where you can like, rather than fight them, you can like save them in another dimension, and then go into a fight where you're fighting like 20 different guys at once with these projectiles. So it just, I mean, I'm not really an RPG fan. Like, it takes a lot for me to get an RPG, so I'm not going to buy this. But I just thought this might look good for you. It kind of it looked pretty cool, I thought.
I'm like watching the video right now, but I don't see a single second of gameplay in it.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I'm watching the wrong trailer or something.
Maybe I wrote down the wrong game. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it is. It is that.
This is just I only see a story trailer though. And I'll do some more looking at it after. But if it's what you're saying, like it looks like a fun game, I'll definitely check it out. Like I do like these kind of games.
Oh, there's definitely a gameplay trailer out there. There's probably a story trailer you're seeing, but they're definitely, you check it out. There's a gameplay. It's from the Direct.
Okay.
The other game that caught my eye, and this one I actually might buy, is the Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics. It's got
this one just interrupt. This one also jumped out to me. I really, really want to play the X-Men or Marvel vs. Capcom games so badly.
Yeah, and 1 and 2 are classics. Like 2 is a classic. Like 3 is where people started to fall off, I think. But number 2 is a big classic.
3 was really popular too.
3 was very popular, but I think 1 and 2 are kind of like when I was a kid going to the mall and there was arcades there, and I don't know what the price is, but it also comes with like 5 other games, so it's kind of just like a really nice collection of games. And some of these Capcom collections are priced pretty well, and they go on really aggressive sales. Like you can get like all the Mega Man X games for like $15 sometimes. Yeah. So this is something that I just see myself on a whim buying sometime for a trip or something.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing I know you're going to tell me that it's like completely different developers. But when they show all the fighting games, I'm like, sweet. And they should say, oh, there's some beat 'em ups. In my head, I'm like, please have the X-Men beat 'em up game on this. Because like, how sick would it be to have Marvel vs. Capcom, those like just legendary arcade games, and also have the legendary X-Men beat 'em up game. They didn't, obviously. They have, I forget, they had like the Punisher. There's these. So I was a little bit disappointed. I know like that didn't really make any sense that it would be on there anyways. So the only downside with this, and this is why I'm hesitant, is kind of like what you mentioned about Mario Party, where it's like, yeah, like this is really wicked to have, but it's like, well, do I have anyone that really would play this with me? Like, I don't really have friends that play fighting games. I don't really love fighting games. It's one of those things where you really need someone to kind of play with you to really get the most out of it. But I could see, again, like you said, if it's $15 or something, just buy it, and when a friend's coming over and hanging out, you want to boot it up for a few rounds, definitely could do that.
Yeah, or even it might hit the PSN, right, at some point.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Interestingly, this is only coming to Switch and PS4. I think maybe PC as well. It's not coming to PS5. Well, PS5 can play PS4, but it's not coming to Xbox. and apparently it has something to do. I just didn't get.
Oh,
too
I
deep.
read about this too. Yeah.
It's the MT framework, which was Capcom's engine for like a lot of 3DS games, for a lot of these kind of old school games they made, like Monster Hunter Stories. And now they're moving everything to the RE engine, and apparently, like, they just don't have an MT framework update for Xbox at all. So they're just not like, there's just no Xbox version, and it's just kind of like, wow, Xbox is like lost on all these remasters. I think the Apollo, what was it? The not Apollo,
Ace Attorney.
Ace Attorney game is also not coming to Xbox. And I know fans of that series were really happy with that release. I feel like Ace Attorney is cool, but I'm so overwhelmed with how many releases they have. I couldn't keep up. So anyways, yeah, Derek. So I'm seeing online people say this is an okay direct. Some people say it's the best direct ever I'm seeing. It might be hyperbole, but it's like, I guess there's two ways to approach the overall score here. Like, this is an end of Switch life direct. So
I was gonna say the same. You're saying exactly what I was gonna say when I was gonna respond about what my score was gonna be. Is, do you base it on any Switch direct, or do you base it on the fact that it's like the end of a game console's direct?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm kind of balancing those feelings with my score, because I wasn't gonna be like, oh, it's a 10, because I got to leave room for those, Mario Galaxy 3 big up, huge,
Tears of the Kingdom
ones.
epic,
Yeah, like that when we had Tears of the Kingdom, Pikmin 4, and Metroid Prime Remastered like a year ago, like that. Like, there's some real epic times, and for me, like, I'll let you go first, Derek. Like, what's your overall feeling and what's your overall score?
Yeah, like overall, I'm very, very happy, because like I was saying, I went in with kind of tempered expectations of, there's just some ports or whatever, and I walked away with Mario and Luigi looks great, Mario Party looks really fun. We do have some of those ports. We have the new Zelda game, and Metroid Prime 4 got shown off. So there's a lot to really digest here, and like there's a bunch of other games too that people will like and whatnot. But those kind of the heavy hitters that we talked about. So I walked away being like, yeah, like this is a really good direct, way better than I expected. But then I did kind of the same as you. It's like, well, I'm happy about this because I had low expectations, because it was the end of the kind of game console, and I know they're gearing up for the Switch 2. Is this like a 10 or even a 9? I was like, probably not, because, there is no new 3D Zelda. There is no Mario Galaxy. Sure, Metroid Prime 4 was awesome, but it just wasn't a lot there. Like,
not coming this year, yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't a lot there. Like I kind of mentioned, I was hoping for a bit more substance to kind of chew on there. And, like the games that are coming out that do look really good, like Mario and Luigi, okay, another RPG from the Mario series. Like, I know it's different, but we've had a few Mario RPGs lately. Top-down Zelda, great, but I kind of know what that formula is. I know it looks quite different, but still, it's just a top-down Zelda. It's not like one of those mind-melting games coming out. It's not like there's a new Smash character, Smash announcement, or a new Mario Kart. So I wouldn't say it's 9 or 10. I'd give it like a high 8. I'd give it like an 8.7, 8.8 kind of thing. So it doesn't quite hit those.
I didn't know we did point one scale for these.
Okay, then 8.5.
Okay.
I don't think it hits that 9, 10, even though for my own expectations, this is way, way better than it could have ever been in my head. It definitely doesn't hit any of those face melting kind of drops.
Yeah, I'm almost in the exact same camp as you. I mean, on one hand, it's like, it's better than it had any right to be. You got Mario, Zelda, and Metroid, the trifecta showing up. Mm-hmm. But yeah, when I really think about like the Switch lineup this year, there's nothing that I'm like really
frothing
over
at the mouth,
the moon about.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it a strong 8. And then I'm going to ask, E3 is basically over now, right? We've got all these kind of showcases have happened now. How do you feel about the future of the 3 console manufacturers between Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo? Personally, I feel like Sony was by far the worst. And Microsoft and Nintendo really showed me a lot of promise for the future. And even though Nintendo didn't have like, the big Switch 2 reveal or anything, the fact that they're delivering this many games at this end of the tail life of the Switch, like they're just firing on all cylinders. Like they just can't do wrong. They can have a direct with nothing announced, and I can leave being like, wow, there's 5 games I'm excited about. So
totally, I feel the exact same way. Like Microsoft is definitely showing us, hey, we have a whole bunch of developers. Looks great. They have a lot of games coming down the pipeline in the next 18, 24 months that all look really, really good. Nintendo, I agree with you. They're ramping up for the Switch 2, but what they've shown is like, oh man, they still have games that are compelling to me. And I totally agree with Sony. I don't like using the word worst, but I definitely say weakest. Because I don't think they did terribly. Like, I think there are some interesting games they kind of showed, even if they're third party or whatever. But I worried a little bit. It's like, they're resting on their laurels in the sense that they're selling well and they're happy, they're crushing Xbox. But you know what? Xbox is starting to power up here. And I don't think necessarily Xbox is going to dominate the console scene. I think it's kind of a dead war these days.
Yeah.
But, give it time. And Xbox might just be a scary powerhouse when it comes to software. And I think Sony isn't quite realizing that there's that software battle where if someone's got to spend the dollar on a game, all of a sudden their first party games might not be the ones people buy, even if they're buying Microsoft games for the PlayStation. They might be buying Xbox or Microsoft games, which could be a surprise for Sony if they don't start, having some games come out. Like, I really feel like they haven't had a good heavy hitter lately, besides, Helldivers 2, but that's not quite the same as we're, kind of discussing here.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that even though, with all that said, Astrobot's still like the most exciting AAA game I think coming this year.
Totally. Like, I'm not saying it's gonna not having those.
I also think it'll be. I think it's going to be the game of the year in the end. But beyond that, I saw a take online that said Nintendo's really mastered the AA game, where all these other developers are like, Microsoft's laying off developers, so is Sony. They're in this like bloated space of like, hey, we'll spend 10 years on a Suicide Squad game and it'll bomb, and like they're in this AAA race to the sun where they're going to burn themselves. And it's kind of amazing that Nintendo can out of nowhere be like, well, here's 3 new games that you have never heard of coming this year that'll sell millions of copies and didn't cost us $100 million. It's awesome that they can maintain that space.
And I think we've discussed this before, where it's like, Nintendo has never tried to push the envelopes graphically. So they can, when they do make their AAA games, they're pushing the envelope gameplay wise and inventive. So when we see a Zelda, it's not going to look as good as Call of Duty or as God of War Ragnarok, but it's going to really push the envelope in creativity and imagination. It's like we see that tenfold over in Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild on what they're able to accomplish. And I think that's nice for them to not have the pressure of like, we've got to make the animation and graphics look phenomenal. Yeah. Where I see Sony and Xbox, they're a little bit in that trap scenario like you just said, where they have to be pushing that, where we look at games that don't meet those standards, and I'm going to say like Redfall or even Indiana Jones in some ways, like they get picked apart now because we've come to expect that those platforms are pushing, their hardware is so expensive.
It's like, oh, your new Western first-person shooter, like why doesn't it look as amazing as Naughty Dog?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's because their hardware is expensive. They had the power to do it, so they should be doing it, as a lot of people feel.
Although I would argue that Tears of the Kingdom does look as good as God of War Ragnarok. Maybe not in sheer technical performance,
of course, but that's what I'm saying.
Art style and beauty.
Totally, art style, and like I think it's a beautiful game. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying we can all agree it doesn't have the graphical fidelity of God of War Ragnarok. It just doesn't. The one thing I will add to though is, when you even look at other like third-party developers, like I often think about Capcom, is Capcom has AAA games, but they've also been able to kind of step away and say, hey, we have some AA games coming too that look really good. I think Square Enix does that as well. Square Enix, I know, have had some rough sales with their AAA games, but they also have a lot of AA games that do really well. So I think there's some third-party developers that are saying, hey, we can really get this market going too. And I just think Sony's done okay. Like there's been some games that are like, even Astrobots, you could argue, is not quite a AAA game. Like, again, who knows what the scope is. But I really do agree with you, where I think Sony and Xbox have kind of like pigeonholed themselves into this, like, we've got to be pushing the limits on every single game that comes from our first party studio. And it's like, it's causing their games to take a long time to be made, expensive, high criticism, where Nintendo's just like coasting on by on, Mario and Luigi Brothership.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny when Hellblade 2 came out and got reviews the same day as Paper Mario: Thousand Year Door, and like,
oh yeah,
and it's like, this is this game they've been touting with next gen visuals and all this mocap for like 5 years, and it gets a 80, and some scores were really harsh. Like Edge gave it a 4 out of 10, and some people like hate this game. I've been playing it, and we'll talk about it next time. But then like Nintendo's like, oh, here's this like graded Paper Mario game from 2004, and it like gets 89 and will probably sell way more. And in the same way, this holiday, Microsoft come out and be like, yeah, here's Indiana Jones, and we put all this motion capture, and we got like, you know, we recreated this big franchise with all this money. And Nintendo's like, oh, our B team decided to like reuse the Link's Awakening engine and do something creative.
Yeah.
And we'll get the Game of the Year award and sell double the copies, and like, you know, everyone will remember this game fondly for a decade. And like, it's just like it really shows that gameplay is king.
Totally. And you know, just to go back to the Astrobot, because you know, just discussing that same idea, is even Astrobot, which could have been kind of like a Zelda game where it's like, oh, not as labor intensive. It's like, it looks phenomenal in the sense of like they had to put the graphics and effort into it, making it look really, really sharp. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they could have pulled off this big Astrobot game if it looked in the style of the new Zelda game we just saw. Right? Like, I don't think they could make it a B team AA game and have the inventive ideas carry that game to sell.
The audience wouldn't
the moment the moment the PlayStation audience would see that, they go, hard pass, it looks terrible. Right? It had to. It's a platformer for like, I mean, like, all intents and purposes, it's like almost like a kiddie platformer, but it's like it has to look beautiful because people will just shove it in the garbage if it's not.
I think that's also just to do with brand recognition. Like, Nintendo's been giving us a quality Zelda brand for 30 years. Like, if this was a no-name new release from Nintendo and it wasn't called Zelda, we'd kind of be like, oh, this looks like just like an indie game, like a side project, like, you know. So there is a lot of brand pedigree. But I also think that, I mean, just to be a whole other topic, but I just think these big studios, in my opinion, need to start laying off on the cutscenes, mocap, and voice acting, because that's a huge portion of those budgets.
Oh my god, so much money goes into story, and I'm just like,
not care about.
Make gameplay better. It's like, you know, I'm someone that likes Ghost of Tsushima and even Assassin's Creed and even Naughty Dog, but it's like, oh my god, the number of games that we play that feel somewhat similar. It's like, when then you play Tears of the Kingdom, and in my head I'm like, there's some days where it's like, all I want to do is play Tears of the Kingdom, because like, I just know whatever I do is going to be something new that I've never done before. Yeah. Or if I'm like, if I pick up a game like, I don't know, even Indiana Jones, it's like, I know when I start, I'm like, I'm going to feel like it plays just like all the other first-person shooter games that I play in about 95% of the way.
Yeah, I hope not, though. I hope it's good.
Yeah, of course.
So anyways, Derek, I tasked you with the top 5 most wanted games of 2025.
2025?
Sorry, 2024. I keep forgetting what year it is. For the rest of this year. I think Plucky Squire's not coming out this year, by the way. That was on our list before.
Oh, are you sure? I'm pretty sure it's still confirmed to come this year.
I thought it got delayed. Well, it's not on my list anyways. Okay. So, Derek, what are your top 5? Like, do you want to go first? Do you want me to go? How do you want to do this?
Why don't you go first? Because I'm still kind of building mine.
Okay, so my top 5. Number 5, Silent Hill 2 for PS5.
Let's alternate.
Okay, so my number 5 most wanted game for the rest of the year is Silent Hill 2.
Okay.
I think that gameplay trailer looked really cool. It doesn't look like amazingly polished, but it looks like it looks good, and it looks actually, the graphics are good, and I'm okay if it's a little less polished. It's a PS2 remaster, and it's spooky, and I love the setting, and I'm just excited to play a spooky remake of a beloved classic that I love on my new PS5. So that's a game that I'm probably going to buy full price, unless it's like ends up being terrible. But I really think it'll be okay. The gameplay looks good, so that's my number 5.
Okay, my number 5 is Black Myth Wukong. Okay. I know there's some question about the quality of it. Like, everyone said it looks amazing, and like even the previews that it had said it's really fun to play. Some people have talked about it as like kind of like a boss rush linear mode. Anyways, I don't know what the game fully is. I think it looks really cool. I probably will not get this day one for certain issues with has to do with physical release. But it looks really, really, really interesting. And I've been kind of watching this game for a few years, so it's not at the top of my list, but it's definitely on that kind of top 5 radar for sure.
Who's developing that? Tecmo Koei, or is it Chinese
developer?
No,
it's a Chinese developer. First game they've ever made.
And when does it come out?
August 20th.
And yeah, I saw there was something like it like ships on digital code in the box or something weird, right?
Yeah, it's like there's no disc with it, at least not at launch.
Weird. Okay. Yeah. Well, my number 4 is Stalker 2.
Okay.
I thought this had one of the best showings from the Xbox showcase. It looks complete. It looks detailed, and it looks like the kind of game I can beat in 12 hours. It's not like Assassin's Creed where I got to give 100 hours of my life to it.
Yeah.
And it looks cool. I want to shoot things. What can I say?
That's a good answer. So my number 4. I'm just trying to think here. So this is kind of a weird one too, where I'm not like crazy excited for this, but I've been having an itch lately. So this is kind of one of those ones where it's like, I'm sure if you asked me in a week from now, I wouldn't be in my top 5, but I've like just been thinking about it this past week and I'm like super stoked for it. Is World of Goo 2.
Yeah.
It just like those games are really like the first game was so fun and it's such a unique game that I don't know how it happened. I think I just saw a YouTube video on it like last week and I've just been thinking about it. And I'm like, I really have that itch. So it's definitely on my list right now. But again, it's like once it moves out of my memory in a week or two, it might not be anywhere near the top 5, but definitely one to look out for.
When's it coming out? Early August. Okay.
August 2nd, I think.
Okay. My third most wanted game is actually Call of Duty Black Ops 6.
Wow,
to be honest, I wouldn't be buying
I never
it.
thought you'd be saying a Call of Duty game.
Well, for one, I haven't played one in a very long time, so it'll feel like I'm like jumping 2 generations by playing it. Like the last one I played was Black Ops 2 on Wii U. Like that's where I'm at with the series.
Yeah.
And I love that this one is on Game Pass, so like a lot of people are gonna have it. Like you're gonna have it, Adrian's gonna have it. Like it's that for me. Like it's a game I can play with my friends. And it's a return to old style zombie mode where it's like in arcade style rounds. So I'm really excited about like do the single player mode, do the zombie mode. I'll probably never touch the multiplayer. Yeah, it's just like it's a very high quality AAA polished. It's one of the they say it's the Call of Duty with the most time put into it in a long time. Like they're putting a lot of weight behind it.
Oh, nice.
And it's on Game Pass. Like. Man, day one I get to download and be part of all that for no cost. Like I don't know. It's
like no question, right? If it's on Game Pass, like especially a game that big, like give it a go.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong, I probably wouldn't put money for Stalker 2 either unless it gets rave reviews. So
yeah,
that's where I'm at. Like the Game Pass factor gives it a nice boost up the list for sure.
We're on 3, right? Number 3.
Yeah.
My number 3 is a game we just saw today. Would be Zelda Echoes of the Wisdom. Again, as much as I had those questions about what it's really going to be like, I have total faith in any Zelda game. I love the top-down Zelda games. I'm excited to play any Zelda game. Simple as that.
Yep. So that's my number 2, Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. Same thing. I'm going to pre-order it. Anything Aonuma makes, I'm in for. And even if it's a bad Zelda, like I want to be there to experience the first bad Zelda. Like I want to be part of the, the conversation. Yeah. Like I was there for Skyward Sword. I got through the annoying stuff for the good stuff. So
yeah, it's even though like it's not quite the same as the 3D Zeldas. It's like being part of the Zelda atmosphere when a Zelda game comes out. Like there's something in the air. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it's like it's a moment in time. I don't know how to explain that better.
I agree. Like it's the kind of thing where like I don't think we'll be talking about Wukong or Call of Duty's Black Ops 6 in 25 years. But in 25 years, we'll still be talking about Echoes of Wisdom the way we bring up A Link to the Past.
Totally. It's exactly. Referring back to it. Yes, it's exactly.
Yeah, and I also think it just looks good. Like I actually...
Totally. Indifferent.
Non-ironically, I think it could be on Game of the Year list as number 1. Like I really think it could hit that mark. Like
I don't think it'll hit that mark, but I think it'll be nominated. I don't think it'll win.
I don't think it'll win because I think the next game's gonna win that, and I think What's your number 2, Derek?
My number 2 is Astrobot.
Okay.
And I'm sure this is your number 1. Looks phenomenal.
It is my number 1.
Like, and again, it's always nice to see a platformer that it looks really fun, inventive, colorful. That isn't Mario, or even Donkey Kong. Just something that's not Nintendo even. So. And especially, I think you've been playing Astro's Playroom recently a little bit.
I love it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like so cool. It's like I can only imagine what they're going to do with a full game. So yeah, totally stoked for.
Yeah, my number 1 is Fantasian Neo Dimension. Just decide to out of nowhere jump into an RPG for the first time.
Yeah, for someone who doesn't like turn-based.
No, I Astrobot, like to see a AAA platformer from Sony again. Like, how many years has it been? You know what I mean? Like, how many decades? They haven't had one since the PS2. And I loved Rescue Mission. I'm really liking the Playroom. I think this is a great brand, and this game looks amazing. It looks like a Mario game. I actually can't wait for it. I'm going to buy it day one, and it's the game that made me buy a PS5. I cannot wait.
That's wild. Like I totally get it, but it's just crazy. Like that's the game that got you to buy a PS5.
Well, you know what it is? It's the feel of the Playroom and Rescue Mission. It's the feeling of playing. Like,
yeah,
just running around as Astrobot, and like, you know, you run up to a little plant and you hit it. The plant has physics. The plant, everything's bouncy and playful. And it's like the game was designed to be played, not watched.
Could not agree more. It's like it captures the Nintendo Mario vibe, right? Where it's like it's fun to just be.
Totally.
I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah,
I totally agree. And I would love a world where Sony and Microsoft take 3D platformers and 3D adventure games seriously. I'm so tired of the same games. I'd love to see Microsoft try a Banjo game. I'd love to see Sony bring back Jak and Daxter. Like, I'd love to see these big adventure games come forward, you know?
Yeah, totally.
I guess they do make Ratchet and Clank, but to me, I don't know. I just can't get into that game.
It's not quite the same as a platformer, though. It's a bit more of a arcade shooter kind of thing these days.
Yeah.
Still really fun, but very different.
What's your number one, Derek?
My number one, I don't know if you're going to say this is kind of a cop-out or not.
Temptation?
But, you know, I know Silksong's not confirmed this year, so
you can't say Silksong.
I'm not going to. I'm going to say I'm not putting it on my list because it's not confirmed to come this year.
Definitely.
So mine is coming out in 3 days. It's Elden Ring: Shadow of the Erdtree.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, I love the From games. Freaking awesome. Really enjoyed Elden Ring. And this is currently standing at a 95 on Metacritic. People are saying it's the best From product ever. So I can't wait. And people say it's bigger than most From games. It's like there's more content here than most other Souls games and other like most video games.
So fill me in here. Is it like it's a new world and new enemies in the Elden Ring universe, basically?
Yeah, so like you basically go in for simpler terms, a portal, and it's like a whole new area. So I think it's like kind of the size of one of the bigger areas on the original game, but it's like extremely packed full of like castles and dense structures, and like there's so much content, people are saying.
But you have to have beaten.
There's 2 bosses you had to beat in the main game.
But I probably have done, right? If I got to the last 2 bosses,
you beat one of them. You didn't beat the second. The second one isn't the final boss. It's a hidden boss that I don't think you did the side bosses.
So just tell me, like, how obtuse is it that the major DLC for a game makes you beat a side boss to even play? Like, what is that? That's weird. What if I just want to buy the DLC?
But every From game is like that.
But what if I just want to buy the DLC?
Then beat the second boss. It's not that hard to go.
So if I go and buy the DLC, and like, how many people are going to buy it and be like, you can't play it yet?
Well, that's tough luck on them. They already bought it.
I know. I just mean, like, it seems like a really weird marketing choice to put this much work and time. And I'm not saying it won't do well, but it's like you really are limiting your audience, because I know a lot of people who did not beat Elden Ring, certainly didn't beat all the secret bosses. And like for people like me and those people who bought Elden Ring and enjoyed what we played of it, we are not at all even able to play this.
Yeah, but let me phrase this better. People that didn't beat Elden Ring probably aren't going to be buying DLC for more Elden Ring.
Yeah, I'm just surprised.
People that are going to put in the extra 2 hours to find and beat that other boss.
I'm just surprised they didn't kind of position this as something like, you know, Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, where it's like kind of its own thing that you can start from the beginning on.
Well, I like that I have my old character and all the items and stuff I've collected. Like, I think that's cool. And again, it's not like it's that crazy to go and do. Tons of people are starting a brand new character. Some people are like on New Game Plus or whatever and doing it, still beating those 2 bosses to access it. So I wouldn't really say it's like a huge roadblock. It's more just like a knowledge roadblock of knowing that you have to beat those 2. But again, it's not new. Like, this is every Souls and From game, all their DLCs have this, where it's like, oh, you have to be in this certain area. There's like the first DLC, I think in Dark Souls, I want to say it's Dark Souls 1. It's like in a random area in the game, there's a painting on the wall, and you can go up to the painting after you get the DLC and press X and like enter the painting, and it's a brand new area. It's like you would never think to go up to a painting and press X to it and walk through it. So they've been more obtuse than this. At least this one is a little bit more straightforward.
Yeah.
So, but it's nothing new. And again, people still buy them. It got a 95. So I'm
sure it'll do well. It just seems very odd that I feel like no one else could get away with that.
Totally. Like, that's what they're all about, right? These kind of, like, super convoluted side stuff. I'm so stoked. Like, apparently it is such a good DLC. I have that feeling that if this is allowed to enter in Game of the Year, this will win.
I have a feeling it won't, just on the basis that Elden Ring already won Game of the Year, and it's, can't do it with DLC. It's cheap. It's cheating.
Well, I think it'll win some. It won't win at the Game Awards, but it'll definitely win a lot of different publishers.
True. Okay, Derek. Well, I think that just basically wraps up our time today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a good chat.
Yeah, I guess we'll chat next year when the next Direct happens.
I know. Yeah, seriously. I hope there's... You know what, though? I'm hoping that in the next few weeks, or not even the next month or two, we'll get more detail on these games for Nintendo coming out, so we can talk about them a bit more.
That's not... They will not do that.
You don't think we're going to see something in, let's say, even end of July, early August for the games coming out in September?
I think August, you're right. Like, maybe in August they'll do like a treehouse kind of thing. But I wouldn't be surprised if they also don't.
We will have a time where we see more Zelda before it comes out in September.
Totally, like maybe another trailer or something. I don't. It doesn't seem to be their normal stance now to be like, okay, like we're showing you the games, like E3. It used to be like then they'd play it for a few days and details would come out. We're just kind of.
I'm just hoping so we have some more content to talk about.
At the very least, the next time we talk, we'll finally be able to catch on what games we've been playing, because I've been playing a lot of games, so we'll be able to talk about.
I've been playing a few too. Yeah,
and we'll have all sorts of stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
Cool, Derek. Well, this is Nintendo Bros. Pete signing out.
This is Derek. See you later.